The stranger came just before sunset. His car broke down on the winding dirt road far from town, and the only house in sight was the crooked old farmhouse with red windows and a chimney that breathed slow, like it was alive. The wind didn't blow, but the trees swayed anyway. He knocked. A thin woman opened the door. She had pale hair, long as spider silk, and eyes that didn't blink fast enough. "Come in," she said, her voice soft as dust. "You'll stay the night. Supper's warm." Inside, the house was full of old smells, wood smoke, wet earth, and something sweet that curdled in the nose. The stranger sat at a long table with three faces staring back. The woman, an old man with shaking hands. A boy with hair like dried hay and lips too thin to smile. No one said their names. They just watched. At supper, they passed bowls of thick white milk. The stranger drank from his, but the family didn't. Instead, when the meal was done, the woman poured the milk into little blue bowls and set them on every windowsill. "What's that for?" the stranger asked. The boy looked up. "The littles." The woman's hand shot out and gripped the boy's wrist. "Don't speak on them," she said, smiling too wide. The stranger tried to laugh. "Pets." The old man shook his head. "Not quite." That night, as the house creaked in its bones, the stranger couldn't sleep. The wind moaned through the cracks, but it wasn't the wind. It was smaller, closer, lapping. Tiny lips, wet and greedy, drinking just on the other side of the glass. He crept to the window. The milk was gone. The next day, the family said little. The boy just stared at his bowl of oats, eyes bruised by sleeplessness. At dusk, the woman poured more blood-colored milk, thicker now, redder, and set the bowls out again. "You must never forget," she told the stranger, handing him one. "If a bowl is missed, they get curious." He thought it was a game, a weird family joke. That night, as they all sat by candlelight, he poured his milk down the sink. "Too sour," he said. The candles trembled. Midnight came. Then the scratching. From inside the walls. Sure. Quick. Like claws on old wood. The stranger sat up in bed. The floor creaked under bare feet as he moved to the door. The scratching stopped. Then came the voice. "Darling?" His heart froze. He knew that voice. He hadn't heard it in years. "It's me, love. Open the attic." But that was impossible. His mother had died when he was 12. He stepped back. The voice came again, softer now, sadder, like she was crying. "You forgot to feed them." He turned. The attic door creaked open on its own. Cold air slipped down, thick as breath. At the bottom of the stairs, the boy stood, his arms shaking. "You shouldn't have skipped," he whispered. "They like you now." The stranger tried to run. The door was swollen shut, like the house was breathing him in. Above, something moved on the ceiling. Fast, scrabbling, sniffing. A lullaby drifted down, the one his mother used to sing. But the words were wrong. Backwards. Broken. He looked out the window. The bowls were empty again. But not clean. At the bottom of each bowl were small white things. Tiny. Sure. Still wet. He never left. The next traveler will find him smiling at supper, just like the others. His bowl full. And if they ask about the littles, he'll just nod toward the window and whisper, "Don't forget to feed them." It started with a whisper. Not a voice, but something softer. Closer. Like tiny nails dragging slowly across dry wood. A soft, scritch, scritch, scratch coming from inside the walls, low, rhythmic, and patient. The traveler, no longer a stranger now, just part of the house, lay still in bed, his eyes wide open in the dark. The scratching was behind the wall, just inches from his face. Scritch, scritch, scratch. He pressed his ear against the plaster. Nothing. Then, tap. From the other side. He stumbled back, breath caught in his throat. The candle had long since gone out, but the room was not dark. Pale light leaked in through the window from the moon, glowing against the floorboards like spilled milk. In the stillness he heard it again. Not scratching. Not tapping. Giggles. Small, dry giggles, like children with dust in their lungs. The floorboards above creaked. The attic. His hands were shaking now. Every night since he'd arrived, the scratching had grown louder. The voices more familiar. The whispers more knowing. They spoke in his mother's voice, his father's cough, his sister's laugh, who drowned when she was 6. None of it should be here. The next morning the house was still. The boy, Noel, he had finally said his name, was sitting by the fireplace wrapping bandages around his fingers. They were red like they'd been bitten. "Did you hear it?" the traveler asked. The boy looked up with dead blue eyes. "They're scratching again, aren't they?" The traveler nodded. "What are they?" Noel didn't answer. Instead, he pulled something from his coat pocket and handed it over. It was a tooth. Tiny. Pointed. Still bloody at the root. "They're asking," Noel whispered. "You forgot again." "I didn't," the traveler snapped. But he had. Last night, too afraid to open the kitchen door, he had left the bowl untouched. The milk was still in it now, sour and pink. "They get impatient," Noel said, eyes on the walls. "They know your voice now." That night, the traveler did not sleep. He poured the milk like he was told, but when he reached the final windowsill, something outside moved. Something crouched in the tall grass just beyond the glass. Pale hands. No eyes. A slit mouth that grinned too wide. He dropped the bowl. Milk spilled across the floor like blood. From inside the walls, scratching. Faster now. Urgent. Then the voices returned. This time it wasn't just his mother. "Let us out. Let us in. We'll be so kind if you do. We're so small. So polite." He backed into the hallway, heart slamming in his chest. The walls around him began to pulse, groaning softly, as if the house was breathing again, heavier now. A picture frame fell to the floor. From behind it, a black crack in the wall smiled at him. He ran. Down the hallway. Up the stairs. To the attic. The door was already open. Inside it was freezing cold. Shadows danced like they were alive. Cobwebs draped every corner like curtains. And in the middle of the room, laid carefully on the wooden floor, was a crib. Rocking slowly. Empty. Until he blinked. Then it wasn't empty. Something small was inside it, curled like a cat, made of thin skin stretched too tight over too many bones. It turned its head. It had his sister's face. And too many teeth. "We're not angry," it said. "Just thirsty." The crib shook as more began to crawl from the dark corners of the attic. Some were missing limbs. Others had too many. They clung to the ceiling like spiders, upside down, clicking their teeth. "You forgot again. We get so hungry," he screamed. Ran down the stairs. The wall scratched back. Hands grabbed at his ankles from beneath the floorboards. Whispers bit into his ears, begging, pleading, promising. He burst into the kitchen, sweating, shaking, gasping. The family was already sitting at the table, unmoved, bowls in front of them, full of steaming blood milk. The woman looked up. "Don't listen when they start scratching," she said gently. "That's when they know you're listening back." The traveler opened his mouth, but no words came. Just a faint sound. Scratch. From inside him. The scratching had moved inside him. He could feel it, deep under his ribs, behind his heart. A tickle at first, like a whisper brushing his bones. But now it clawed, desperate, as if something wanted out. He sat at the kitchen table with the family, his bowl untouched. They stared at him with tired eyes and motionless hands. The woman stirred her spoon in silence. The boy just stared at the window. Outside, fog rolled in like a tide of ghosts. "I need to leave," the traveler said. His voice cracked. "Please. I won't tell anyone." The old man gave a quiet laugh. Not cruel. Just hopeless. "No one ever does," the woman said, still stirring. "Not once." The boy leaned forward. "She's coming tonight," he whispered. "She always comes when they start talking through your skin." That night, the traveler locked his door and pushed a chair against it. He lit every candle he could find, stacking them in circles. The flame wavered with every breath he took. The scratching had moved to his throat now. Click, click, scratch. He drank water. It burned. He tried not to sleep, but the walls were singing. Soft, wrong lullabies in his mother's voice. Hush now, hush, hush your crying mouth. Then, a knock. Not at the door. From inside the wardrobe. He backed away slowly. Then the wardrobe opened. Nothing inside. Just coats. Shadows. Cold air. And then, a sound. Darling, I've come for you. His mother's voice. But heavier. Slower. As if pulled from beneath the ground. He stepped forward. Mama? From behind the coats, something moved. Something tall, wrapped in nightgown lace, with long black hair that floated like it was underwater. She stepped out. Her face looked almost right, almost kind. Except her eyes. They were filled with milk. No irises. No pupils. She opened her mouth to speak, and a tooth rolled out. He screamed and ran. Down the stairs. Into the hallway. But the house had changed. The walls stretched taller, warped like wax. Doorways blinked shut. The hallway twisted. Then he heard it, behind him. Footsteps that didn't belong to feet. Thud, click, thud, click. Like someone walking on hands and knees, but wearing mother's shoes. He turned. The thing was crawling on the ceiling, her face stretched too wide, her voice a broken echo. You said you missed me? You called me back. He fell backward, crashing through a door, into the boy's room. Noel sat on the floor, drawing with chalk on the wooden planks. Circles. B-S. They always come if you say their names, the boy said without looking up. Even if it's only in your dreams. I didn't say anything, the traveler cried. The boy blinked slowly. But you remembered her, didn't you? The scratching inside the traveler's chest grew louder, almost like laughter now. Help me, he gasped. Please. The boy stood and took his hand. There's only one way back, he whispered. You have to go up. They climbed the attic stairs together. Every step moaned. The house breathed with them, shaking lightly, boards trembling under their weight. At the top, the attic door opened before they touched it. Inside, the air was heavy, sweet with rot. The cribs still rocked in the middle. But now there were others. Little cribs. Dozens. All swaying on their own. From one of them a voice rose. His mother's lullaby, slower this time. Backward. Mouth your crying hush, hush, now hush. He stepped forward. The boy didn't follow. If she offers you her hand, the boy warned, don't take it. The traveler nodded. His mother stepped out of the shadows again. Taller now, her hair full of teeth, her hands long enough to touch the floor. You've grown up, darling, she whispered, voice soaked in rot. Come home with me. You don't belong here. Her hand reached out, slow and trembling. The traveler hesitated. Tears filled his eyes. I miss you. She smiled wide enough to split her cheeks. Then open your chest and let me back in. He screamed and ran, knocking over the crib. It broke apart, and inside it, where a child should have been, was a writhing mass of pale fingers. All twitching, all beckoning. He ran past the boy, down the stairs, into the kitchen. The family was waiting. You saw her, the woman said. He nodded, shaking, crying. She's not real. The boy stared at him. She's more real than you now. Outside, the fog curled closer. In the distance, a lullaby echoed through the trees. She was still looking for him. Inside his chest, the scratching started again. This time, it was knocking. By morning, the milk had curdled. The bowls on the windowsills were all empty, but not clean. At the bottom of each one, nestled like pearls, were teeth. Tiny, white, perfectly sharp, still wet. The traveler stared at them, stomach turning. He counted 19. 19 means they're pleased, said Noel, standing behind him barefoot in the morning frost. 20 means they're done with you. The traveler turned, his voice cracking. What happens if it's 20? The boy looked away. You don't get to drink the milk anymore. They drink you. The family acted like nothing had changed. The woman hummed while folding napkins that had bite marks. The old man sat rocking in his chair, bleeding from the ear, saying nothing. At the table, the boy poked his porridge, his hand twitching every time the traveler moved. Something about the air was different. It was heavier now. The wood of the walls felt wet under his fingers. The traveler tried again. "I want to leave. I have to." "You can," said the woman gently, "but you'll have to take something with you." He frowned. "Take what?" She looked up, smiled. "A little kindness." That night, the milk was thick and red again. The traveler carried a bowl to each window, trying to hold his breath. The smell was stronger now, sweet and raw like old meat left in the sun. The wind outside had stopped, but the curtains moved anyway. As he reached the last sill, he saw them. Not reflections, not shadows. Faces, pressed to the glass. Mouths too small for their teeth. Eyes wide and milk blind. They stared at him with the hunger of children who'd never known sleep. He dropped the bowl. It shattered across the floor. The milk pooled in the cracks between the planks, and from underneath something began to drink it. Slurp, slurp, slurp. He backed away. Then laughter. Giddy, gleeful. But there were no children in the house, except maybe the ones in the walls. Later that night, the traveler woke to the sound of gnawing. He opened his eyes slowly. The bedposts were moving, twitching, being chewed. Tiny teeth poked out from under the frame, biting at the wood with sharp, eager mouths. The traveler rolled away, falling hard onto the floor. A dozen little fingerprints, no bigger than a baby's, smudged the floorboards with something red. He looked up at the ceiling. They were there too. Dozens of them crawling upside down like silverfish, their bellies full and dragging, their mouths full of red. One of them stopped, turned its tiny twitching face toward him, spoke with his voice. "Why didn't you feed us?" He ran. Down the stairs, past the kitchen, to the front door. It opened before he touched it. Outside, the fog was so thick it looked solid. He took one step out and sank. The ground wasn't ground. It was soft, wet, breathing. He turned to run back, but the house was gone. Or no, still there but changed. Taller, hungrier. The windows blinked like eyes. The boards groaned like stomachs. The woman stood in the yard, barefoot, arms stretched wide. "You can't leave without a kindness," she said again. "I don't want one," he screamed. She tilted her head. "Then give one." He awoke by the fireplace. His clothes were wet with something thick and red. A small bowl sat in front of him. Inside were 3 tiny teeth. His own. The boy crouched nearby, holding a spoon. "You fed them," Noel said. "They liked it." The traveler began to cry. "I don't want to stay here," he whispered. "I want my life back. I want my voice, my face, my mother." The boy flinched. "You called her," he said. "You remembered her too clearly. That's how they were, your memories. Like masks." The traveler shook his head. "No, she's real. I saw her." "You saw what they wanted you to see." The boy stood walking away. "But now she's inside you too." That night, the traveler didn't pour the milk. He sat by the last window and watched. The littles came anyway. They crawled from the walls like smoke. They peeled out from the floorboards. They slipped under the door in pieces and pulled themselves whole again. Dozens of them. They circled him. And in the center of their circle, they built something. A figure. It grew out of bones and teeth, milk and blood. A shape with a woman's frame and a mouth made of his own teeth. It stepped forward. Its voice was velvet. "You left me in the ground," it said. "But I never left you." The traveler trembled. "I'm not yours," he whispered. The thing reached out. "Then take me out." It pressed a finger to his chest and began to scratch. "If you're still breathing, congratulations. You survived another tale from Majesty Horror Story. But the nightmare doesn't end here. Hit subscribe, tap that like button and share this story, or she might pay you a visit tonight. Don't forget, they're watching who doesn't share. Sleep tight.